And I truly believe that each one of us as entrepreneurs have our own personal journey and our own personal learnings around that. So if something resonates with you, great. But if it doesn't, I'm already asking for permission to forgive me. Second disclaimer, I'm what one would call a pure vanilla non-profit. So we don't have a revenue model, we don't make a profit, but we create a different kind of impact. So if you're looking for advice or inputs on how do you create a revenue model, a sustainable for-profit model with the kind of work we are doing, you may not get it in my presentation. Which is kind of strange, because I come from a Sindhi family. So, when I was told about this topic, I decided to kind of reflect a little bit on what would I have told myself when I started off Dream a Dream. What would I say to the young Vishal who was 21 years old and started Dream a Dream? Kind of a letter to my younger self. I understand a lot of people here are starting off, thinking of starting off, or exploring getting into the social sector space. So my reflections on what I would tell to my younger self as an entrepreneur. Won't tell you much about Dream a Dream, so to get that kind of put that out of the way, I'll give you a quick introduction on Dream a Dream. We're a 13-year-old organization based out of Bangalore. We're focused on empowering young people for vulnerable backgrounds to develop life skills. My first reflections is that you are where you are and where you need to be, always. When I was a child, I was always worried and concerned, or did not understand why there were poor people around me. I grew up in a relatively poor neighborhood, but what made our family different was that we had 4 concrete walls in our house, and a lot of our neighbors lived in shanties. And as a child, I never understood why someone lived differently from us. I could not understand when my mother used to tell me, you can't play with these kids, they'll spoil you. I could not understand why those kids could not come to my house and play with me. Or why the domestic help in our house had to sit on the floor and have a meal while we sat on the table. And that still happens in my house, and I still don't understand it. And I believe there's a reason why those questions came to me as a child. There's a reason why I remember them. Because of a certain journey of life that I had to go through, which is what I'm going through. So as an entrepreneur, one of my first reflections is that to learn to connect those dots. One of my biggest influence in my life has been my grandmother. And for some reason, of all the memories I have of her, the one that stays with me is when she told me as a child that you are going to service. I didn't understand then what that meant, but it stayed with me. It took me many years later to understand what she meant. Or why I ended up going to a convent school where half the students in my class came from a slum community in Vivekananda, and maybe walked to school or came by bus while my dad dropped me to school. I was fascinated with some of my friends who used to deliver newspapers in the morning and then come to school. And during a summer break, I went up to my family and I said, this summer holidays I want to deliver newspapers. So excited. And what do you think my family told me? You must be crazy. Don't we feed you? What will people think? What will people say? It's like the story of Mukesh there, right? Why do we have a society where Mukesh does not feel proud of being a cleaner? or if I need to deliver newspapers, or if I am excited by delivering newspapers, someone tells me, what will people think? What will people say? If you want to do something in the summer holidays, go to your dad's office. And those are the experience, the memories I kept. And I landed up starting Dreamery. No plans. Grew up in a very conventional family, high focus on academics, always stood in the top 3 ranks in school, all through college, high hopes from family, ye bachcha to MBA karega, will become a high-flying consultant, will make a lot of money. And I wanted to do that too. But somewhere these questions kept nagging me. And I landed up at a place, surprisingly not in India, in Finland. At the young age of 21 on an exchange program where I was like, okay, I'm making friends with this gentleman who's the security guard at a 5-star hotel. And he's actually very proud of being a security guard. First, I don't know any security guards back home. Second, I don't know any security guard who's probably proud of their work. So why this difference? That's when I hit upon the idea of dignity. There's this huge invisible population in our world, in our country, that we don't recognize, we don't know, but it provides us invaluable services every single day. If Mukesh does not clean the streets on a single day, you and me are going to be in trouble. Do we recognize that? Do we know that? I didn't know it, which is what brought me back to India, and I started Dreamery with that idea, actually not knowing what to do. So I'm one of those entrepreneurs who just jumped in without knowing what to do. You guys are much luckier that way. You probably have figured out your business plan and what you want to do, your product, your service. I had no clue. I just had this need that I want to change something that I feel is not right. One of my biggest learnings and reflections as a social entrepreneur in the last 12, 13 years that a lot of my work in the initial years, or for many years, till even about last year, was actually fueled by fear. What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? What will people think? And I think our society is designed that way. As a child, don't do this, don't try this out. As a child, I was born left-handed. My parents said, you can't use your left hand, it's the wrong hand. So they used to punish me if I used my left hand. So there's always this space in growing up about something's not right with you, something's not good about you. There's no space of you are the best that you are. You are good the way you are. So I always fueled my venture, my organization, from a space of fear. What if someone realizes that I'm actually not as cool as people think I am? And what makes it worse is when you're young and you start something, you get a lot of attention. So there was a space, there was a phase in my life at Dreamery when in a single year I had like 6 articles written on me. Times of India, India Today, Outlook, India Today saying 50 young people that will change the face of India. Like, okay, so I asked the reporter, how many did you start off with? He said, no, someone told us about you, so we thought we could reach you. But it inflated my ego, but also built a lot of fear in me. Like, okay, now someone's written about me and someone thinks I'm really cool, I'm going to change India. I have to do something to make that happen. What if it doesn't happen? And for many years in the process of doing that, obviously that led to me doing a lot of hard work. I'm no genius, I'm a regular guy. But the only thing I could really do was instead of putting 14 hours, put 20 hours a day. Work 7 days a week. Yeah, I think I can do it. Let me work harder. And what I lost out on those years of running with fear was a space of celebration. The celebration of the work itself that we are doing. As I was sitting there, listening to the other speakers, I got a message. One of the first kids that we worked with today morning was featured in the newspaper. And for me, I was like, wow. I met this kid when he was 14 years old, run away from home, out on the streets. And today he's 28, 29 years old. And he's been featured in the newspaper for the work that he's doing with another charity. Those are celebration moments. And so many of them. You just have to come into the Dream Dream office on a Friday morning to experience the celebration that happens, the stories that come out, the impact that every single team member is creating, and the ripple effects of that impact. So as an entrepreneur, if I have to talk to my younger self, I really say nurture those celebrations, small or big. Those are the real fuel that take us forward, not so much the fear. In 2005, we had a crisis of leadership for the first time in the organization. The organization was started by 12 of us, friends, common friends, people who thought it's a great idea came together. 4 of us decided to continue in the organization as a board. And as a typical startup, after about 5 years of working together, we couldn't stand each other. We had this, what later on management consultants told me was the founder syndrome. You're taking away all the credit, you're not doing enough work, this is my idea, this is mine. The egos were playing. It took us a year to just come back into the space of respect and appreciation for each other. But at that time, I didn't even feel that there was an end to this conflict. We passed, we learned, we forgave, we celebrated each other again. We went back to the space of the intention why we started our cause and moved on from there and started growing. So the Gulmohar blossomed again. 2010, I went through a burnout. And I was one of those people who used to believe I could never go through a burnout. I'm a rock star. I can't burn out. With the cause that you're working on with children every day, you can't burn out. And in 2010, one Monday morning, I woke up, don't want to go to work. I used to pride myself in mocking my friends and saying, you guys hate Monday mornings, I love Monday mornings. And then that Monday morning happened, and I didn't want to go to work. I didn't go to work, I disappeared for a week. Didn't tell anyone. And the realization that came was that the kind of organization I wanted to start, the vision that I had when I was 21, was not the kind of organization that it had become. In the process of the pressure of growing, stability, financial sustainability, we had become an organization that was hierarchical, that was disempowering, that was inauthentic. We were talking to the children about changing their lives, about building their self-esteem, but within the organization, we were putting down people. Suddenly I realized, I don't want to work in this organization. So we changed course. We said we're going to build this organization on a foundation of trust, ownership and accountability. You are the owner of this organization as well as anyone else's. It was a big shift. What happened? Half my team left in 2 months. Half my team just left, completely angry with me, completely upset with this change. Huge crisis of leadership. Am I doing something wrong? Was this the wrong thing to do? Stuck on to my intuition that Dream a Dream has to be the reflection of the society we want to see, where everyone takes ownership for the challenges in our society. Dream Dream does not want to become the reflection of the society the way it is today. We had to shift. It was the need of the hour. Your work is the reflection of what you wish to see. Authenticity. We are talking about life skills. We are talking about the ability of children to be able to manage conflict in their lives. the ability of child to go back home and tell their father or mother that I wish to study. Please let me go to school. Or the ability to go to their parents and say, I do not enjoy studying. I want to do something else with my life. That is the level of self-esteem, skills that you want to develop. Now, if you're not able to empower yourself with those skills, where is the authenticity? Very easy to say the child needs this. Are we also in a space of reflecting of, am I in that space to be able to give that to the child authentically? Am I in a space to bring empathy into that learning space, to accept the child for the behaviors they bring? You go to a classroom of 40, you will find some restless children, you will find some wild children, you will find some children who are very quiet. What do we first do? Label them, judge them. But they are after all a reflection of some of the behaviors we have. So I dream as an entrepreneur. Constant focus has always been to make ourselves more authentic, to always be as an organization in a space of reflection. Am I really being relevant? Am I being authentic? Will I really use this product that I'm selling? Do I feel the need to have this for myself? So only when then I get the authenticity to offer it to someone else. It's very easy to get stuck into this journey of entrepreneurship about do. Get up in the morning, get to your office, do. 100 emails, answer. Get to that meeting, do this, do that. And I did that many years. Along the way, it was the children that I worked with who actually said, there's also this creative person inside of you. If you really want to celebrate your work, yourself, and I believe there's no boundary between work and personal life for me. I am who I am at work, I am who I am outside of work. And when that alignment, that connectedness for me exists, I am the same person. I am the same person with you, I am the same person with the child. In my journey as a social entrepreneur, there's never been a moment when I felt alone. From the time when I decided to leave my corporate career and get into Dream full time, when my parents were like, you must be crazy and no good, well-meaning father is going to give you his daughter for marriage. To today reaching a stage where my parents are extremely proud of the work that I do. Through the various, we've gone through like 2 bankruptcies in the last 13 years. We've gone through overhaul of people, gone through crisis of leadership, all those spaces. The resilience and the relentless commitment to the cause, to the work, has ensured that we always had people to support us. Mentors, advisors, guides, funders, always coming back and saying, we believe you, we trust in your work, hang in there. And I can just feel tremendous gratitude for that. Especially for the kind of organization I'm running, a pure non-profit. My biggest learning, and right from the beginning, has been that we exist to close down. The reason an NGO is started is so that you can close it because you've solved the problem. Or you've built an ecosystem where everyone is working on solving the problem. Unlike a for-profit, which exists to grow and grow and grow, an NGO, a non-profit, exists to solve the problem, build or create a new reality, and move on. What is very easy to forget and start focusing on is feeding the beast. Organizations are beasts. They feed, they take it. And there's no stopping to that. But to staying relevant, that you're here to create a different reality for that child. You're here to solve the problem of lack of access to life skills for children in the country. And you need to build an ecosystem around that. So the important thing for us It's never to focus on growing the organization, but to focus on scaling the impact of our work. If you look at the non-profit space, a lot of people here, and I have been in that space too, will say it's a lucrative space. People getting to make money. I can't trust a non-profit. I don't know who to give money to. I don't know what they do. I don't know what impact they create. I don't know how they show impact. There's a general perception in society of negativity when you think of an NGO. As an entrepreneur, social entrepreneur in this space, our responsibility is not just about building credible, reputable organization ourselves, but through our example, also changing the perception of society about the sector. So it's important to also recognize that responsibility. About being a mentor, about giving it back, about showing higher standards of transparency and accountability through your own example, which then pushes other organizations to also get to that state of transparency and accountability. Always, always choose the right path. It's a deeper responsibility here because there's a higher negative perception. And to recognize that you're part of this sector, you're not an island working in isolation. And our actions will create an impact on the sector. So what is the intention that you're starting your social entrepreneurship venture with? You're starting your organization with is very, very important. I've left the last slide empty because this is my social entrepreneur journey till now. Some of you are starting yours, so for you to fill it up as you start your journey. Thank you.